Hi guys and gals, Froggy here. I'm doing rear brakes on my IS300 and I'm not going to give you the whole thing from start to finish, like park the car, take the wheels off, all that stuff. I've really got to just get down to the important stuff that you might not have figured out on your car yet. So the caliper bolts are 17 millimeter, okay, and I used a breaker bar there and then a ratchet to get them off. Now when you take it off, take a close look at this piece of hardware. It's like an anti-rattle piece, and it also positions the two pads correctly so as they wear down like that, you know, they'll stay correctly oriented. And of course, you know how it works. They squeeze on the disc and that's how your car stops. So I'm going to show you how to, these are the old ones. I already did the other side. So I learned on the other side. Now I'm going to show you guys and gals on this side. So the first thing is you got to take this pin out. There's a little bitty clip that runs through a hole in the pin that holds it in there. Don't lose it, because you'll have a heck of a time finding a replacement probably. Although I guess you could use a regular clip, like just a regular clip. It doesn't have to be this special one. But let's get that off. Cotter pin, that's what I was trying to think of. You could use a regular cotter pin if you lost the clip. So I just used a pair of vice grips to grab it and pull it out. Now this whole pin here is going to come out. You might spray a little oil on it to get it to come out. Sometimes it'll hang up because it's got a little portion of it in the middle that's carved out. I don't know if it'll show up on there. You see it right there. So that little carved out portion hangs up on this piece of hardware here. So you have to kind of wiggle it, jiggle it a little bit to get it past those edges in there. But it's not that hard. So just press down on this here to give yourself some space to pull the clip out. That clip should come right out. There it is. I'm laughing to myself because I just stuck my finger underneath that little piece of hardware and it went flying. It just pops right out pretty easy. These are your old pads. The hole end, see, it's got holes in the backing plate of the pads. That's the part that faces out towards what I would call the back of the caliper. So just pull them out. There's a little picture of the new ones on top of the old ones. You can see the difference in the pad thickness, obviously. I went with Akibono. Really, it was on the recommendation of the Napa guy. He seemed to know what he was talking about. I think they were like $75 or something like that for the full axle. So for what it's worth, that's what Froggy's putting on there. You should probably clean up these dust boots, and if they're damaged, these are in pretty good shape. This car has about 120,000 miles on it, and they're original. But you can spray them lightly and easily with some brake cleaner fluid, or brush them off with a brush, or do something, because you're going to push those pistons back into the caliper, and when you push them in, you don't want to push any dust or dirt in because it could damage the seals that are inside there. These are looking pretty good, and so the trick is to push them back in. And what I did, I used a C-clamp on one side, and then I left the C-clamp in place, and then I used a pry bar to push the other side. Now, I'll try and show you that arrangement. I have a brake caliper piston compression kit, but it doesn't fit on these are pretty little calipers. It doesn't fit on the back of these. Alright, so here's one shot that shows me with the C-clamp on there, and I'm compressing that piston, the outer piston. Okay, so there, that's fully compressed. Push the piston back into the caliper reservoir area. Now I'm going to take, if you can see the space in between the head of the C-clamp and this other piston. I'm going to put a pry bar in there and pry against the two to get this one to go back, what I'm tapping on. Alright, this will give you an idea of what I'm doing. I'm just holding the camera with one hand and balancing that pry bar. But pry against the C-clamp and pry against the other side with, whoops, it just fell. Pry against the other side with the end of the pry bar against the piston, okay? And get them both all the way back in, or otherwise you won't be able to slide it onto the rotor with the new thicker pads. So all the way back in. Your pads should come with a lubricant, a brake, high temperature brake grease lubricant. If they don't, I would recommend that you get some and put it on there, so it will help the brakes work properly and also help them not make noise. So that's some disc brake caliper lube that I bought in case you don't get that with your calipers. Now you have to lubricate everywhere that the pad backing plate touches the caliper. So that's like about 8 little spots. I'll show you some of them, but you got to use your judgment and your common sense when you're doing that. I just take my finger and put some of that lubricant in those different spots. It's just it's hard for me to do that and show you. You see like that little rusty spot down there? That's one, and on the other side there's another one. So there's 1, 2, and then on the top corresponding 3, 4. All right. Now on the pads themselves, there it would be like here. Remember, on the backing plate, never get any on the pad material itself. Here and the other side, and then on the top, it's right here on top of these where the little circle is, because that's where the clip that went flying, that's where the clip is going to put, it's going to put pressure on this and hold it in the right orientation and position. And also on the piston, where that circle of the piston comes and touches, compresses the pad, put some lube there, okay? I squeezed some out onto that old pad so it's easier to stick my finger into it and then put it into the different locations on the caliper. Yeah, see, so there's 4 on the bottom and 4 on the top. There's 4 of them there, and then there's 2 there, and there's 2 there, and don't forget, I didn't do it yet, don't forget that piston leading edge. You can put it on the backing plate of the pad too. There, you can kind of see it there, or I put it there, and put it on the top, and then on that little edge right there too. But never on the pad material. You can put some on the anti-rattle clip too. See, those places, just those little edges that touch the backing plate. Drop the new pads in. Obviously make sure that the pad material faces where the rotor is going to be running. And then I'm gonna hold this. I'm going to stick one finger up in there to hold them in place. I'm going to drop the anti-rattle thing. I'm going to drop that on there. I forget if it goes this way or that way. I'll figure it out. And then slide the pin in, and then put the Carter pin into the other pin. So the anti-rattle has to go that way because the pin is going to come sliding through there. So there's only one way that can go. And as you can see, some of those places I put grease are unnecessary because they're facing outwards. So don't put any grease there. Once you get that pin through and it's down in that slot, that groove there, you've got to shove it so that that little end piece right in the center of the screen there, that has to be up over the lip of the caliper. I'll show you in a second. So I guess this pin that has a little carved out section in the middle which fits into this, I guess that's what keeps it here. I don't know, it doesn't seem like that's secure, but there's a little bit of tension, and I'm just wondering how this stays up here, but apparently it does, because this pin just holds the whole thing from moving around. Certainly it holds it from moving it left to right, and I don't know how it holds it from going that direction, but somehow it works. Anyway, that's the way it's supposed to be. Obviously the pin has to go across there, and then this, make sure this thing is up over the edge of the caliper. Okay? I think I told you 77 foot-pounds is what I got off the internet, so whatever that's worth, I think it sounds about right. My Corvette's about 100 foot-pounds on its calipers and its bigger brakes, so 75 seems about right. 77. We got that little pin. I'm not doing a brake bleed on this job. I'll probably do it when I do the fronts. This is the bleed screw, and you can see that's worn out. I'm going to put some super tape over that, which is silicone tape, and I would suggest if they look like this, you should just get some new ones. You should be able to get them at a Toyota dealer or maybe a Napa or Pep Boys or somewhere. Just bring the old one in there and make sure it's the right size with the new one. I like to get in the car and press the pedal down and maybe start it up and press the pedal down a couple times, and that will push these pistons towards the pads, towards the rotor, so that you don't have a big long pedal the first time you drive it. Just bring them up there, and then you can also double check this and see that everything looks right. So I'm going to do that now. I torqued those both up to 77. Just push the pedal till it gets hard, and you can see that the pistons have pushed the pads in towards the rotor. Check the other side. Looks okay. So let's put the wheels on and take it for a drive. So I'm going to wrap this up. What you want to do when you drive the car is do about 4 to 6 hard stops, not all the way to a stop, but say get up to about 60 miles an hour and go down to 5 and up to 60 and down to 5. You want to get the brakes somewhere in between warm and hot, and that'll help bed the pads in, get all the friction surfaces working together, and so whenever you need the brakes in a panic or just usual, that just helps to bed them in. It's called bedding in the pads. Give me a thumbs up or a like if this helps you out. Subscribe to my channel if you want more from Froggy, mostly automotive, but I do a little bit of everything else, whatever I think you guys and gals might like. And you guys have a great rest of the weekend. See you later. Froggy out. Bye-bye.